remember, keep it frosty.
The U.S. reaches a new COVID-19 vaccination milestone as the number of new cases continues to surge. Plus, we'll look at the pandemic's impact on the mental health of frontline workers. And the Joplin City Council votes whether to give final approval for a scooter program to come to town.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
New coronavirus cases in the United States have increased 40% over the past month to an average of nearly 72,000 cases a day, the highest since mid-February. Hospitalizations and deaths are also rising as the Delta variant spreads throughout the country. The surge is swamping hospitals, forcing governments and other entities to tighten restrictions, while health officials plead with those unvaccinated to get the shot. Skylar Henry has the latest from Washington.
Florida leads the nation in per capita coronavirus hospitalizations, recording more than 10,000 admissions Monday.
But the numbers are doubling every 10 or 11 days. This is horrifying.
Hospitalizations have increased tenfold in the state over the past month.
The numbers that we're seeing are unbelievable.
Governor Ron DeSantis insists the surge is seasonal as people head indoors to avoid the heat. He continues to ban local governments from implementing mask and vaccine requirements.
At a certain point, leaders are going to have to choose whether they're going to follow public health guidelines or they're going to follow politics. And we certainly encourage all governors to follow the public health guidelines.
Restrictions are tightening elsewhere. Today, Louisiana reinstated its mask mandate for all indoor locations, regardless of vaccination status.
Our latest numbers further confirm that we simply have to do more.
Masks for indoor settings are also mandatory again in California's Bay Area. In Denver, all city employees and private sector workers working in high-risk settings must be vaccinated. Masks are required again at many McDonald's restaurants. But there is good news. The White House task force says over the past week, vaccination rates are up by 70%.
Americans are seeing the risk and impact of being unvaccinated and responding with action. And that's what it's going to take to get us out of this pandemic.
And the White House said it's reached the goal it originally hoped to achieve by the 4th of July. 70% of U.S. adults have received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Today, the nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, said the death rate for those who've been fully vaccinated but have had breakthrough infections is extremely low. 1/100th%. Joplin area hospitals report little change in their numbers of COVID patients as they battle the continuing surge amid the spread of the Delta variant. Joplin's Mercy Hospital says it currently has 69 COVID patients. That's down from 74 a week ago, but the hospital says the percentage on ventilators is now higher. And Freeman hospitals in Joplin and Neosho now report a total of 60 COVID patients. That's 3 more than Friday. 11 of those patients are on ventilators. The FDA is moving as fast as it can to give a full approval to the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. That's from Dr. Peter Marks, the director of the agency's Center for Biological Evaluation and Research, who spoke with the Washington Post. While Marks could not give a specific timeline, he said the FDA will not lower its scientific standards to greenlight the vaccine. All COVID vaccines, including Pfizer, currently have only an emergency use approval. But medical officials and business leaders said a full approval would help fight vaccine hesitancy, especially at the time when new COVID cases are surging. As COVID-19 cases remain high in this area, Joplin healthcare workers are feeling a heavy toll on their mental health. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with Mercy Hospital's emergency department director to understand the emotional toll increased cases have had on hospital staff.
After more than a year and a half of fighting a global pandemic, Joplin healthcare workers are in almost the same place that they started.
A lot of our staff has kind of gotten to where this is a new normal, which is really my concern from them.
After being faced with a new virus, having to adapt to new ways of treating patients, and dealing with more deaths than ever before, healthcare workers are exhausted.
None of us went to school or are equipped to deal with dying people on a daily basis, not having their family members with them, using iPads and cell phones and things like that to communicate with them, I mean, is such an emotional toll to put on individuals that are also trying to continue to care for other patients.
Mercy Hospital's emergency department director says it's getting hard for healthcare workers to feel fulfillment from their job as the COVID-19 death toll rises.
We got into this wanting to make a difference, and it's very hard because we're seeing so many times that we cannot make a difference and that we throw everything we have at it and put long hours in and working extra hard. And then we still see people that are dying, I mean, at such great levels.
Which she says is not only physically exhausting, but mentally as well.
Everybody needs balance in their life. I think for the first year, vacation time went unused. Nobody had a day off.
To ease the strain on workers, Mercy has brought in nurses from other areas to give their staff a break.
I know we as an organization have worked really hard to bring in agency and Mercy nurses to try to just have those people so that we can give our staff some rest.
Despite this, healthcare workers continue to feel the strain of the pandemic. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Mercy Hospital still advises people in the area to continue practicing social distancing and wearing masks in large crowds to reduce the virus spread in the area. Checking in with Doug Eddy. We're enjoying this relatively nice weather, Doug.
Yeah, it's been pretty nice over the past couple days after we had the cold front that rolled through on Saturday evening with the scattered showers and thunderstorms. Temps today, fantastic. 84 for a high. We started at 61, so we're getting very comfortable overnight lows. The humidity is not that bad. There's nothing going on really on the radar. Pretty much clear skies, just a few random little showers once you travel south and east across parts of Arkansas. Besides that, we look pretty good. Temps right now, upper 60s to lower 70s. And I think most of us will drop back to about 61, 62 degrees as we go through the overnight hours. 70 by 10, 80 by noon, high temp of 84. Almost identical weather compared to what we did see during the daytime hours today. Plus, we're going to look at your month-long forecast all coming up here in just a bit.
See you then. Joplin City Council tonight approved on first reading an agreement with Bird Scooters. Now goes to a second reading. Now, if approved, Bird would bring 150 scooters to Joplin and pay the city $2,500 plus 15 cents per ride. This is video of the scooters in use in Lansing, Michigan. To rent a scooter, you download the Bird app and pay for your ride, which unlocks the scooter. City Council plans to discuss parking concerns at the next council meeting. Hey, don't forget, for many of you, tomorrow is Election Day. It's your chance to, in many cases, decide how your city or county spends your tax dollars. Voters in Jasper County, Purcell, Carthage, Joplin, Oronogo, and Avila, Missouri, as well as Cherokee County, Kansas, will all have items on their ballots. There are no offices to fill. The elections are just over issues, mostly tax questions. Polling places open in Missouri at 6 a.m. and stay open until 7 p.m. In Kansas, polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We're going to have the latest numbers, of course, on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Voters in Purcell, Missouri will decide whether to sell their wastewater utility to Missouri American Water. Now, if approved, it would net the city $200,000, and city officials say further investment from Missouri American Water.
Pledged to invest about $2.4 million, I believe, over the next 5 years in Purcell in the systems. So that gives the citizens comfort, I think, to know that we're going to be there, we're going to make the investments, and we're going to make sure the systems are running and meeting regulation.
Again, voters will decide on that issue tomorrow. Still ahead, a local hospice program is in need of volunteers. We're going to tell how you can get involved. And the Biden administration has allowed the federal moratorium on evictions to expire. What that means for Americans still working to catch up on rent. The Compasses Hospice program in Northeast Oklahoma is looking for volunteers to help comfort and support patients and their families. The program is looking for two types of volunteers. The first is non-medical volunteers who can donate their time to provide companionship, run errands, and prepare meals for patients. The second is veterans who can connect with the program's veteran patients.
From all walks of life. These are just people that want to give back to their community, or they've had a loved one that's been on hospice and seen what that need was. And so they come into that with that kind of mindset, and just, they may, again, make phone calls, they may do grocery deliveries.
Volunteers will be able to decide when to help out to best fit their own schedules. The Biden administration has allowed the federal moratorium on evictions to expire. Now, millions of tenants who can't pay their rent could be at risk of losing their homes. Natalie Brand has more on the ramifications of the change from Capitol Hill.
17, 15. Mother of 4 and Florida teacher Jeanette Herbert says she's fallen 2 months behind on her rent because of the pandemic.
Waiting on my income tax. That never came through, and I understand the situation with IRS because of COVID. They have been with less workers.
She's now among the millions of Americans who could face possible eviction after a federal moratorium expired over the weekend.
It's not the moment when you want people couch surfing. No. You want people out on park benches sleeping. You want people in their homes.
Democratic lawmakers have called on the Biden administration to extend the moratorium, but the White House says a decision by the U.S. Supreme Court has tied their hands.
The administration is now asking state and local governments to take faster action to speed up distribution of COVID relief money that could help. Only about $3 billion of the $46 billion in rental assistance had gone out as of the end of June.
If some states and localities can get this out efficiently and effectively, there's no reason every state and locality can't.
A group of states, including Illinois, California, New Jersey, and New York, has extended protections in place for the near future. Advocates are asking for time.
We're here today to urge our landlord partners to consider all the alternatives at your disposal before filing those eviction papers.
Advocates say in some states, more than a quarter of renters are behind on payments, with the Southeast considered the hardest hit region. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, Washington.
The White House is calling on states or localities to extend eviction moratoriums for at least the next 2 months. The administration is also calling on state and local courts to pause eviction proceedings until tenants and landlords can seek access to the emergency rental assistance that has been approved. The British government over the weekend changed its travel restrictions for vaccinated Americans. All that's now required is a COVID test before flying and a PCR test 2 days after arriving. You'll also need to show your CDC vaccination card at the airport as proof you've been fully vaccinated. Later, the Kansas City Chiefs prepare for their preseason matchup with the 49ers. We're going to hear from the team in sports.
Plus, we're going to see how long this nice weather is going to stick around and your month-long forecast coming up next.
Bring happy home in electric today.
Well, it turned out to be another nice day for us today. Temperatures pretty good once again as we sat mainly into the low to mid 80s for highs, which is fantastic. So much better than what we had last week. And of course, really about the past 10 days, but for the past 2 days, it's been pretty good. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, just outside of Seneca, Missouri. You can still see that kind of haze in the atmosphere due to the smoke from wildfires out to the west. Temperatures for the next few days look fantastic. We will start to heat back up late this week and into the weekend. And this is actually showing us the smoke out there. Again, when we get a cold front that rolls through, we usually get northerly winds and usually from the northwest. So it kind of takes that smoke from the northwestern parts of the U.S. and kind of brings it in. Until we get southerly winds back, we're not going to get this kind of smoky haziness out of the region. So this is going to stick around for a couple more days, kind of those reddish sunsets, and their quality, not the best, but it will get better. Temps right now upper 60s to near 70. We'll drop back lower 60s later on tonight. Humidity is not bad. Dew points are sitting into the mid 60s, which means we're kind of in that not bad to a little bit sticky range. But it does look like we're going to see pretty good conditions, at least humidity wise, for about the next 3 or 4 days. Outside 71. Feels like 71, humidity at 78%, our pressure steady to slow rise. Nothing going on outside. We've had a few random showers off to our south and to our east. But besides that, we look good. We are staying dry. Any persistent rain, Texas, parts of Louisiana, we've been dominated by a nice big dome of high pressure that has given us these nice conditions. Until that breaks down, we won't start to heat back up. Here's our next little wave. This is a weak system way out across parts of Montana, but this will start to affect us by Thursday. Until then, we look pretty good. All right, lower 60s tonight, clear skies, partly sunny skies for us tomorrow. Almost identical to what we have seen today. We'll start at 62, 80 by noon. High temp right around 84 degrees. Northerly winds very light at about 5 miles per hour. Random shower in our eastern counties. Tomorrow night, again, back into lower 60s, so another nice night. Wednesday also looks pretty good. Mid 80s, maybe a notch or two warmer than what we will see tomorrow, but still looks pretty good. Clouds will start to increase by the time we head into Thursday, and that's when our chances for some showers, maybe even a few thunderstorms. This is a weak system. They'll be very scattered. We'll start to roll in late Thursday into Friday, and then the heat really moves in by the time we head into the weekend as we bounce right back into the 90s for highs. 84 tomorrow, 86 Wednesday, 86 Thursday, those scattered showers. The heat, the humidity as we head into the weekend, which we don't want to see, but of course it's August. So we're in the last cycle of the heady pattern, and then things will start to change. We'll get into a new pattern here in about 6 more weeks. Then we'll start to really see some big changes. But a hot, humid month, scattered storms, mainly 80s and 90s, like it should be in August. So if we break it down, so we start from this coming Sunday. When I say hot, we're talking 90s to pushing 100. When I say warm, we're in the 80s. So if we look at next week, most of the week's hot, and we're going to have those hit and miss storms again Wednesday through Saturday. If we go from the 14th or the 15th through the 21st, we'll start the week in the 80s. The middle of the week will be in the 90s, but this week will be mostly dry. As we go into the last week of August, we actually cool down a little bit. Not a bad week. We'll have hit and miss storms, but temperatures mainly into the 80s, and this will continue into the following week at the beginning of September, staying mainly 80s, a few hit and miss storms. But then Labor Day weekend, we heat back up, 90s. It's going to be a hot, unofficial end of summer and mainly dry.
Okay, but the bulk of summer will have been pretty pleasant, relatively speaking.
Yeah,
if that forecast
this
holds
hasn't
true.
been too terrible.
No, and
So,
more rain than usual.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chuck. Coming up in sports, Pittsburgh American Legion baseball team prepares to head to Nebraska for the regional tournament. Plus, Frontenac Senior hosts a 3-day wrestling camp beginning tonight. We're going to tell you why next.
A Frontenac High School wrestler is giving back to the community and raising money at the same time this week. Dawson Lapping is leading a 3-day wrestling clinic this week, starting tonight in Frontenac. Lapping is a 3-time state qualifier for the Raiders wrestling program. Last season, he finished as a state runner-up in his weight class. The camp is for all ages, girls and boys, and is $25 per wrestler. The money from the camp will help Lapping offset the cost of going to the National Wrestling Tournament in Fargo, North Dakota.
It's really good for the sport. Giving back to the sports gave a lot to me, especially Frontenac kids. Try to get them into it and, bring them up through here. So hopefully show them that it's fun. Not a lot of people are invested in wrestling or whatever. Not a big thing to a lot of people, but hopefully, get them interested and keep going.
Tomorrow night, former Frontenac undefeated state champion Riley McDaniel will be a guest coach at the camp. The camp continues at 6 p.m. both tomorrow night and Wednesday night. The Pittsburgh American Legion baseball team is still alive in the postseason. Post 64 won a state championship over the weekend and will now move on to play in the Mid-South Regional Tournament, which is in Nebraska beginning on Wednesday. Now, Pittsburgh was 4-1 in the state tournament last week to punch their ticket to regionals, and they got to do it on their home field.
100% it made it more special because we didn't want anybody to come out here and get a win on our field. We wanted to almost protect home field in a way, and we did that, and it felt great. We say it all the time. Mental mistakes happen, physical mistakes happen. That's okay, but you have to play with 100% effort, and that's all we can ask for is perfect effort. And that's what I thought we got from this tournament from those guys.
Pittsburgh's first game at regionals will be on Wednesday morning in Hastings, Nebraska, facing Oak Grove, Missouri. The Kansas City Chiefs are just 12 days away from their first preseason game of the year. The Chiefs will be on the road against the 49ers on the 14th in their first of just 3 tune-up games. And meanwhile, the team is still in St. Joe, getting in work at training camp. Tomorrow will be the team's first practice in full pads. Now, it's a fun and important day for everybody, but especially the new-look Kansas City offensive line.
You want to see these guys communicate at all levels. On top of that, you want to see them line up and play hard together. You want to see them strain to finish. But it's one thing about an offensive line group, they all have to work on gelling and making sure that they're on the same page. I will say this, they got a heck of an O-line coach that's done a heck of a job with them. So far, so good. When we come out here tomorrow with the pads on, now we continue to roll.
Finally, tough one today for the U.S. women's national soccer team. The U.S. fell to Canada earlier today, 1-0 in the Olympic semifinals. Now, that snapped a 36-game winning streak the United States had against Canada, dating back to 2001. Now, the Americans aren't done yet. The U.S. faces Australia on Thursday for the Olympic bronze medal. And that's it for sports. We're back with more news after this.
Sports Scott.
Take time now to honor a local veteran, Sergeant Joshua Hood. The Miami, Oklahoma native served in the U.S. Army, and we are proud to salute Sergeant Joshua Hood, tonight's four-state hero. Boy, this weather is nice. We've been enjoying it, and you know what? Tonight's weather's not over yet.
Yeah, we get a couple really nice days. Highs into the mid-80s. Eventually, 90s return by Friday.
Quick sports news.
Dawson Lapping Wrestling Camp. We got more information on the sports page on our website.
Don't forget our morning show, and let's make it a great tomorrow.